Yo, what's going on, man? Welcome to another edition of the Players Ball Podcast, where we cover all sports far and wide. I'm your host, Roddy. Go ahead and give us a follow on Twitter at the Players Ball 1, as well as Instagram at the Players Ball Podcast. And please like this video, subscribe to the channel. We obviously have a ton of content coming as the month of November is going to be jam-packed. So make sure to follow us to be updated on everything that we got dropping. But happy Friday. We finally made it to the end of the week. Short little pod today. Nothing too major that's going on in sports. Of course, we do have a couple of things to talk about, a couple of things to review. So let's go ahead and get into it. And we'll start with Barca. Oh my God. I mean, what do I say about them? Like, I understand that financial issues have been a concern all offseason. I do understand there's been a lot of hoops that have been jumped through in order to register some of these players, both for La Liga and the Champions League. But they're going to Europa League for the second time in a row. Only one win and a draw, and the rest were L's. So, I mean, I really can't say much about the squad. There's a lot of questions that I have. With lineups, a lot of questions that I have with, injuries, of course, they happen in the game, but I just think that we could have gave a very, very, very much stronger effort. We're only ahead of Victoria Pleasen, who got smashed literally by every team in the group. So it happens, but Barca's really going to have to get the defending together. Obviously, like I said, injuries are playing a part, but this team is still not to the point where they need to be. And I think that a lot of Barca fans are going to have to be a little bit more patient in terms of, developing this squad and getting them back to the point that they were in the mid 2010s. So it is what it is, but they'll be playing Europa League again. Hopefully they don't have an embarrassing exit again in that, because that will be very, very concerning, but we'll have to see how it plays out. But speaking of that group, Bayern, they dominated the group, won every single match so far, 5-0. So 15 points, obviously, in the group. They have qualified the most points in any group, actually. So they look like a juggernaut again, for sure. I'm not sure if they're going to be formidable in a round of 16. I do have a couple of issues with their squad. Of course, when you're 5-0, you can't really say much about the squad. That's bad, but there's certain issues that I am feeling like may cause some problems, especially in the midfield coming up on this round of 16. So we'll see how they fare, but I really do think that Bayern are a top 3 favorite to win this competition again, like they usually always are. But we'll go to another one of my squads, Chelsea. They did their business, okay? They won a match, and they are actually going to qualify for the round of 16. Obviously, bringing Graham Potter in, this is what we wanted, to happen. Obviously, the league is also what we're looking forward to having success in as well. But the Champions League is, something that we definitely want to continue to compete for year after year. And being in a round of 16 is going to be able, to let us do that. So, real big shout out to Graham Potter. He's come in and really placed a philosophy that isn't so strict and so boring on the players. Obviously, I think we do need to, in the transfer window and in the summer, kind of get more players that are suited to the system in there. But all in all, I think he's done a great job. And I think, Chelsea management is feeling like they did the right job by pulling the trigger and firing Tuchel. So it is what it is. But I'll be looking forward to see how he continues to progress throughout this season. And I think he's done great. The biggest shocker probably of the entire week of football was Atleti. They had, if you didn't see the end of this match, by the way, I need you to go watch it because they had the most drama at the end of the match that I've ever seen. So there was a corner kick for Atleti at the end of the game. The game's drawn 2-2 at the moment. There's a very, very harsh handball. You'll have to go actually watch the replay, but because I can't really describe it well over, this medium. Well, actually, I might try to post the video up, on our page so you guys can see what the handball really was. But very, 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 very harsh handball, in my opinion. And it caused, obviously, Atleti to get a chance at a penalty kick. where my guy Yannick Carrasco missed. He hit the post. Oh, well, he got it saved by the keeper. Saul came in and tried to head it in. It hits the post, and the game ends. Now, the controversy really around this game is that the original penalty that was given, it was given after a VAR review that happened after the final whistle. Didn't really know that was able to happen. Thierry Henry said on the post-game broadcast that, they're defying the only rule he knew, is that when the referee blows the whistle, the game's over. So I don't know what happened there. I'm sure we probably won't see that situation again for a long time, if we do at all. But yeah, really crazy to see Atleti out, and a lot of these La Liga teams that most people didn't think were going to make it are in the round of 16, including Real Madrid and Sevilla. So obviously La Liga needs their respect. I know a lot of people are being disrespectful to that league. Respect La Liga, okay? Now, to keep it pushing and to come back over on our side of the pond, the Clippers, man, they're starting really, really slow. They lost to the OKC twice in a row. Neither game was particularly close, even though, the score lines may indicate a little different. I think it's mostly injuries, obviously, with having your two-star players not consistently be in the lineup. A lot of these role player guys are used to playing with each other and scrapping and fighting for whatever they can get. So I truly understand that it's going to take some time to transition, obviously. But I am not impressed with the Clippers so far. And I'm really concerned with Kawhi's situation. Obviously, it's been a full year that he did not play basketball last year. He injured himself, obviously, in the middle of the year, 2 years ago, should I say. So to me, it feels like it's been ample time. Obviously, a guy with knee injuries that he suffered from in the past is going to be a little, it's going to be a little time to take to get back to the point where he's a dominant top 5, top 6 NBA player. But I still am a little concerned that you're not beating teams that are supposed to be tanking, should I say. But if you look around the league, the Spurs and the Jazz, they're not really, tanking properly either. So I guess we'll see, what happens with that. And we'll talk about another team that isn't tanking, but is going to be in the tank later in the big three. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, the Clippers gotta wake up, man. But a team that's woken up, stayed up, been up is the Warriors. Obviously, they dropped the game to the Nuggets at the crib, and they have not looked back since. Still looking very dominant. Steph has been amazing to start off the season. The offense has looked crisp and clean. Jordan Poole has looked really, really good. So I see them being a top 3 seed again. I really can't see them falling off in any type of capacity because, they're the Warriors. They have the championship pedigree. They have the depth. And, yeah, it's really a lot of teams in the West that are formidable opponents, but they have major glaring flaws. And I can't really see that with the Warriors. So I definitely think that it's going to be their conference to lose again, man. And that's very scary for their dynasty. But to go to the young guys, and especially in the Hawks division, we're going to go to Paolo Banchero, who has not scored under 20 points yet. He's pretty much got Rookie of the Year locked up within the first 5 games. I think he's going to be an incredible player for the Magic, but the issue with the Magic is just their luck. Obviously, Cole Anthony has an oblique strain, which is going to keep him sidelined for a couple of weeks. And the Magic are 0-5 as well. So, you get production from these guys who, were ready to play instantly, and you're still just, not really up to par. So I get it. It's going to take time for the Magic, and it is the Magic. But I really like how Bol Bol has looked. He's came in and kind of, showed that he did deserve, some burn. Maybe not in Denver just due to the depth situation, but he does deserve some burn, man. He is a good player, so I think he can be formidable for them. Obviously, Mo Bamba is still there, and they have Franz Wagner, a lot of pieces that could be good in the future, but they all got to come together and they all got to play together. More importantly, so hopefully everybody can get healthy so we can see that soon. But the Hawks, matter of fact. We are 3-1. We play the Pistons again tonight, I believe it is. And I mean, I could be happier. I guess I couldn't be happier wouldn't be a exactly true statement, because I do feel like there are certain areas of our game where we could, be a little bit more efficient. But defensively, I think it is night and day from last year. The bench production obviously is struggling because Bogey is still hurt. But I do believe that once he comes back, it's going to be a little bit better. The floor is going to be more spread when that bench lineup comes in. And it's not going to be so much pressure on DeJounte to both facilitate and score, which kind of is what we were seeing with Trey with the main unit last year. So hopefully we can get Bogey healthy very, very soon so we can continue on this run, because I think a good start to the NBA season is really underrated. I know a lot of teams say that, you can start 0-2, 0-3 and still make the playoffs. Of course you can, but I really think the importance of a good start, to have a little bit of leeway, a little bit of a safety net, to fall back on in case injury comes down the line during this long season. It helps out. So Hawks, keep going, man. All right. Don't mess up. Don't start losing the teams you're supposed to beat, and beat Detroit again so we can get to 4-1 and, we can keep progressing on this road trip. Now, Ben Simmons, for our last basketball topic, looks cooked, man. Okay. They cannot run any kind of set with him on the strong side. He has to be weak side. He's in the dunker spot, but he's not really a dunker spot guy. They let him bring the ball up the court, but it's so clear and obvious that he's looking for that pass as soon as he gets the ball. And they're going to play some teams that are going to be really, really strict in the passing lanes this year. And I hope, I know it's going to become an issue, but I hope it's not too big of an issue where it spoils their chances to be in the playoffs this year. But as currently constructed, man, this looks like a play-in team. I'm going to be honest with you. Even though I feel like they have a massive amount of talent, I just think that, if you got a guy who's literally dead weight on the court, you can't do anything with it, man. And I try not to be too hard on Ben, because yes, he is, trying to get better. I don't think he wants to suck this bad. I do have motivational questions with him, but I don't think he wants to be this bad. I don't think he wants to be this big of a laughingstock. So hopefully he can get right. His back kind of looks cooked too. So we'll see what happens, man. But if I'm a Nets fan, I'm not feeling good about what's going on right now. And I don't know how to fix it unless there's major changes to be made. And the front office has shown that they are not willing to do that yet. So we'll see how it pans out. But to go to football and talk about last night, Brady and the Bucks, they fell again to the Ravens. They're 3-5 now after that game. The third straight game where they, I guess playing garbage time, they scored, were able to score 22 points. But this would have been the third straight game where they didn't score 20 points. The offense looks absolutely abysmal. The running game is non-existent. Obviously, that's because of the issues that you're having with the offensive line injuries, but I still think that this team is not putting up the effort that they should be. The defense is getting a lot of snaps, which is wearing them down a lot. That's going to play its toll going on later in the season, especially with them playing a first-place schedule. It's not going to get any, easier particularly. So I said that, there's no way they're winning over 11 games this year. I still stand by that. They're 3-5 now. They would have to literally win 9 games. Okay, 9 games. I don't see it happening. 9 out of 8 going 8. No, that's not happening. So I really do believe, that they're going to be there at the end of the year and trying to compete for the division lead. But the Saints have all the opportunity in the world, man. They got to get guys back injury healthy, and they got to just get some consistency for the quarterback position. And I think they can have a great chance to win this division. With everyone that's in front of us, we have to play them again. So we'll see what happens. But this is an ideal situation for us, that the whole division is hurt and they're not, up to par with the rest of the league, even though the league has been kind of PU this year. But I'm optimistic, man. I really am. Now to go to the Eagles in a little bit of trade news, real quick. The Eagles traded for Robert Quinn, another pass rusher. To shore that situation up over there. Don't think he's going to be the most impactful, due to age, but I think obviously he can bring a lot of wisdom to the young D line. Obviously Fletcher Cox doesn't need any instruction, but there's some younger guys over there that probably could use Robert Quinn's help technique wise and just veteran leadership wise. I hate cliche topics and cliche statements like that, but it's true. Sometimes it really does help to have a veteran in that locker room to guide some of the younger guys. So good trade by the Eagles. The Chiefs traded for Kadarius Toney. I think even though he's been injured all season, I think he can definitely work in this offense. He's gonna have to be more focused of getting downfield when he gets the ball. I do like the juke moves and everything like that, but I think sometimes it does hold back from the potential gains that he can get, from receiving. And I think Andy is going to try to coach that out of him. Hopefully it happens so they can get a suitable player. But obviously injury is the first concern. He has to get healthy first, above everything. And we don't know if that's going to happen yet. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely do think that Kadarius Toney is going to be a great weapon for the Chiefs when he is healthy. Fits into the system, kind of like that Mecole Hardman bag where undersized receiver that can do a lot of the speed stuff. So shout out to the Chiefs. They continue to get those guys that maybe are getting a little bit overlooked, but have the talent. So shout out to them. The Seahawks have a showdown against the Giants this weekend. We talked about Geno Smith and his play. I don't think anybody would have guessed that this would have been an important matchup at this point in the season, at the beginning of the season, but it is. The Giants are looking to remain only a one-loss team. The Seattle Seahawks want to take a more commanding lead in their division with San Francisco losing to the Chiefs last week. So I think this is going to be a really good game and an important game. And the quarterbacks in this game are Daniel Jones and Geno Smith. So things happening in this NFL season that you probably wouldn't expect, but things happen. So now Jamar Chase is the last thing I'm going to talk about here. I'm kind of confused what's going on with him because I am like, okay, he left the game with a hip injury at the half. He came back in after halftime. Now he's out 4 to 6 weeks with an oblique strain. He's going to get a second opinion, which means that's might be more than 6 weeks. And I'm kind of confused on what the Bengals were doing there, especially when they're up multiple touchdowns on the Falcons. Not really sure why they would risk Jamar's health, their franchise, I should say one of their franchise players' health. Don't really know why that is, so this is the second kind of questionable position that the Bengals have put their players in. Joe Burrow's issue with the offensive line was pretty bad. Some of it they couldn't help, but some of it they kind of could. So I don't know, man. The Bengals are going to have to answer some questions soon from me, especially with this Jamar Chase injury, because it's really sounding just weird in general. I don't know why he was playing, but it is what it is. So hopefully he gets healthy, obviously, but I just don't know why he was playing. But that'll do it for our news and notes segment. Now you already know what time it is. Let's go ahead and get into the big three. All right, man. You know what time it is. It's the big three, the three biggest topics in sports today. We'll start with one of the marquee franchises in all of the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers obviously have been the biggest topic of discussion, I would say, in NBA Twitter, in the NBA world. I don't know. Obviously with them being the most decorated team, they have high expectations. They have not won a basketball game yet. Okay. Russell Westbrook has looked pretty much the same as he did last year. Not a good fit, not good at all. Trying though. I definitely would say trying. A lot of guys would have gave up. I won't name names, but we talked about one in the news and notes section. And I really just feel like there's so much wrong with the Lakers that just blaming Russ is kind of irresponsible. I know a lot of people have, echoed that sentiment, but the thing that really killed me was the Denver game that happened this week Russ sat out with a hamstring injury. Obviously, everybody and their mama, when they saw them lose, say, "Oh, well, Russ isn't the problem now." Well, correlation isn't causation, man. It's just not. He's still taking up $47.5 million worth of cap that could have been broken down into different players, different shooters, whatever you want to say, that the Lakers could have got. They could have gotten better if they weren't playing one player $47.5 million. So, I mean, I don't see any good future for this team. There's issues with scoring. There's issues with shooting. Injury is only going to naturally happen throughout any sports season, as we know. So I don't really think that there's any optimism, when guys are missing. So it's just all bad, man. It's all bad. And I really think that the Lakers should put some blame on LeBron. I do understand that not everybody wants to say that it's LeBron's fault. I get it. But I think some blame on LeBron should be had for okaying this Russell Westbrook decision, especially him being a basketball savant. He should know that a guy who needs the ball in his hands and him needing the ball in his hands a lot is not going to work. Okay. It's not. The only reason why it worked with the other guy who needed the ball in his hands a lot, which was Kyrie Irving, even though Kyrie's way better off ball than Russ. But it worked because Kyrie could consistently hit jumpers and be great in the pick and roll. And Russ really isn't that. So I'm really confused why they extended Rob Pelinka, especially before they even saw what this season was going to look like, with a massive overhaul in the roster. It just gives me kind of the indication that maybe the owner doesn't know how to run the team. And the owner, Jeannie Buss, I'm gonna be respectful to a woman, but I really think that there's some, questions to be had about, is she really, better than her brother at running the team? I really, could be a question. Now, obviously, she got a ring, so it's justified a little bit, but I don't know, man. This team looks really, really bad. And I just need them to wake up and give some semblance of life because they look like zombies out there, but they don't have the personnel to pick it back up. So this might be, well, not might, this will be the worst season of LeBron's career, just in terms of the team aspect. And I think it's going to not taint his legacy, but it's just gonna reflect on, his skills as a GM, I guess, because you know it's just not a good roster, man. It's not a good roster. But Palinka is to blame more than LeBron, because he just got these spare parts and he just threw them on a car and said, "Let's go." So it is what it is. But we'll see what happens with that. I definitely don't think that the Lakers have any semblance of chance, and the Pelicans are going to get the top 5 pick because of it. So see who won the trade. But we'll go to the SEC, some college football. Obviously, we will be live and direct tomorrow on Paid for Play. Beautiful slate. Obviously, we have a big matchup against the Florida Gators. That's what I came here to talk about on my platform. Obviously, Florida has not been the same, for the past 5 seasons or whatever. Obviously, they do have a SEC championship appearance in that last 5 seasons, but I think it was a down year for Georgia. So just saying. But I really do truly believe that, when we look at Florida as a team, they're going to be better. Anthony Richardson obviously has more time as the leader of that squad. So I think he's going to be better. I think this game is going to be way more competitive just due to Georgia's defense not being the same as they were last year. Very formidable still, but I still don't think it's the same. And my only fear, though, is for Georgia not to get beat deep. There's been multiple situations this year where we have, lucked out and a receiver dropped a wide open pass. There was a lucky pass breakup, even though the cornerback was 2-3 steps behind the receiver. A lot of things that if you're watching all of Georgia's games, you're seeing and you're hoping it gets fixed up against these SEC opponents since they are so formidable. But I do think that's fixed up. I do think Georgia wins this game. You'll have to tune in tomorrow morning to see what my prediction is in terms of gambling. But I think this is the win for the Dogs going into next week against the team that I'm going to talk about next, which is the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, I'm so glad that there's parity both in the SEC West and the SEC East this year. I can't remember a year where there was parity in both conferences. There really usually was a clear-cut winner by this time of the season. Usually Tennessee, Kentucky, or South Carolina or Florida has already lost a game to 2 games by now. But Tennessee is undefeated, and they're at home to Kentucky. Hell of a home schedule, by the way. They got pretty much all of their toughest battles except for Georgia at the crib, which, makes for a great case for them going into the postseason. But they need to be careful, okay? Coach Stoops obviously has not had Kentucky looking as great as they did last year. Will Levis obviously getting a lot of draft hype has just been okay to me. Has held the team back in certain instances because Kentucky does have some elite weapons, but they need to get a quarterback that is able to get them the ball consistently and frequently. So I'll have to see what happens, in this matchup, but I would be cautious for both teams, okay? Both teams need to be careful, all right? Because I'm telling you right now, if they lose, next week is going to be one of the most pressure-filled games of either team season. So it's gonna be big, man. It's gonna be huge. So take care of business, both teams, this week, and we can set up huge matchup in Athens for next week. But the SEC has parity, y'all. For all of y'all that said the SEC is top heavy, I know it's only 2 or 3 teams competing, for that SEC title, but that's every conference. You're acting like every conference has 4 potential conference winners every year, and that's just not the case. So it is what it is. But I hope Georgia can come through. I think they will, and we'll set it up for next week and one hell of a matchup on November 5th. It's going to be a great day of college football. Now I want to end it with the World Series. We haven't talked much baseball. I did tell y'all that the Phillies are probably going to win the series against the Braves. Obviously, when you're thinking about the MLB playoffs, it's a lot about who is the hottest team and who is able to keep hot. And both of these teams are exactly that. The Phillies have been hitting very well, been playing good small ball, and having a good mix of that with home runs built in. And so have the Astros. But I do think if we're talking about in terms of the matchup specifically, the Astros pitching will reign supreme. They've had the better pitchers all season long. Wheeler and Nola have been very good. Nola obviously getting the start tonight in the World Series is going to be huge for him. But I really do look forward to, and I hate to say this, I do look forward to the Phillies giving the Astros hell. I do think the atmosphere of being in Philly is going to be electric. Obviously, they haven't been to the World Series in 14 years, 15 years. So it's going to be a good matchup. I ultimately have the Astros winning 4-2. I think Philly's consistency in the field is going to be their biggest problem. I think the Astros pitching's consistency is going to be a big problem too. Even though I think they have the more talented pitchers, they haven't been the most consistent this year. Even though they're undefeated in the playoffs, which is totally ridiculous, by the way. But I do think the Stros are going to win it. I think Philly gets 2 games. This MLB playoffs has been really, really quick. We're still in the month of October. Obviously, sometimes the Fall Classic leads into November. But I do think it's going to be a win for the Astros, man. I think they're finally going to get a ring that is not soaked in cheating allegations. Hopefully, we don't know yet because everything hasn't came out, but hopefully they can get a ring that isn't soaked in cheating allegations, man. And yeah, I think they've been a buzzsaw this year, and I think they're on a mission. And I said that from the beginning of the season in the MLB preview that we did with Sosa. They are going to be on a mission, and here they are in the World Series. So Astros 4-2 is my official prediction, but be sure to stay tuned to the World Series because I think it's going to be a good one this year, all right? But that'll do it for the show today. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Give us a follow right here at the Players Ball 1 on Twitter, at the Players Ball Podcast on Instagram, and Just be sure to turn tweet notifications on, post notifications on both apps. Whatever you need to do to keep up with our content, please keep up with it, because we're going to have a lot of big guests going on into the future. We definitely got to talk to our Seahawks fan, Canny. We're going to get him on the pod next week to see how that showdown with the Giants went. But until then, man, we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.